Everyone, Mike Vogel here, coming from Las Vegas, joined by Caps Assistant General Manager and Draft Guru Ross Mahoney, who will be conducting his 27th NHL draft for the Capitals here on Friday and Saturday of this week. Ross, let's talk first, though. The whole NHL has descended upon Vegas, obviously, for the events of this weekend. But on Monday night, it was kind of an interesting ending to the NHL and the pro hockey season in North America, with the Calder and Stanley Cups both presented on the same night. And just a really good feather in the organizational cap of the Capitals, if you will, with back-to-back Calder Cup championships from the Hershey Bears for the second time in, 20 years or so. And I mean, I can't even count the number of finals appearances since I think it's 6 or 7, at least 5 Calder Cups. But let's just drill down on these last two. Coming off of these last 14 months, winning a couple of Calder Cups, having some of the young players that you've drafted in the last few years assert themselves and show their NHL ability. Where would you characterize the state of the organization right now?
Yeah, no, I mean, to win a back-to-back Calder Cups is such a hard thing to accomplish. A real credit, I think, to the coaching staff. Obviously, they've done a good job, and they have a tremendous chemistry, too, watching that staff. And Brian Helmer, managing it. And then you get your development team, Steve Richmond and Jim Slater and Ole Kolzig and Brooks Orpik, and, they play a big role in it. And the pro staff, being able to get good veteran players, and then obviously we've chipped in on the amateur side too, and you have the Lapierres and Trinievs and Sutters and Roshnichenkos and Iorio and Johansson, but to win, I think anytime your younger players grow up in a winning environment, it's just such a positive thing. I think it's easy to learn how to lose, and it's really hard to learn how to win. And I think that really bodes well for the future for our young players.
I know it was 6 years ago this month that you guys won the Stanley Cup right here in Las Vegas. And at that time, you guys had, as Stanley Cup winning teams tend to do, expended a lot of draft capital to get that cup. And so the organizational cupboard was a little barren at that point. But in the 6 years since, I feel like you guys have done a really excellent job of filling in, and especially when you look at some of the other teams who were in the same position as you were 6 years ago. You guys have moved up kind of to the top half of the league with what's in the cupboard now. And as you just mentioned, you named a lot of those guys that have been pulled in those drafts since then. A lot of those guys have shown themselves well in those 2 Calder Cup runs, and a lot of those guys have shown themselves well in the NHL as well.
Yeah, no, I think it's when you winning, obviously it was fantastic, it was awesome. But when you're trying to make a run at those cups, your currency is draft picks and young players, and so you have to start to get more young players into the system. And I think we've done a good job of that the last 2 or 3 years, and we're really positive about the kids that we just mentioned that are playing in Hershey, and we've got the Ryan Leonards and the Andrew Crystals and those type of players that are coming along also that we really feel positive about. And so we'll have another good draft here in a couple days and continue to add more players to the system.
It's my first chance to talk to you, too, since the Capitals signed Zach Funk, a free agent out of the Western Hockey League who had a fantastic 23-24 season. What can you tell us about him and the season that he had this year and what made him appealing to you guys? It seemed like that's one of the big gets of this year's class of guys who are beyond that draft eligibility.
Yeah, no, I mean, Zach, he was in Calgary, he ended up getting traded, I think, to Prince George, not this past year, the year before, and he really started to take off, and the year he had this year was phenomenal. He's always been a real hard-working kid, very competitive. And I thought this year he really stepped up his offensive game with the number of goals that he scored. And, I know Danny Brooks had been out watching him and identified him and had a real good feel for it. And, we feel that we're very, very fortunate to be able to have signed him and got him into our organization.
Drilling down a little bit on the class of 2024, I heard you talk on the conference call earlier in the week about kind of your assessment of the first round and how there's a bunch of defensemen of varying abilities and shot right, left, offense, defense, a good assortment of defensemen on the shelf there, and some wingers too. And you're drafting at 17 in the first round, and that's a familiar position to the Capitals over the years. That's a place where you've pulled some players. Do you just take what the draft gives you here? Just see what those 16 teams do ahead of you, and rest assured that you're going to get a player that you like at that point of the draft?
Yeah, I mean, there's strategy that goes into it also. I mean, you kind of have the first round into some layers, and you're picking 17. I guess you felt if you had targeted a couple players that you thought might not be there when you're picking at 17, you might entertain the thought of trying to trade up a few spots in order to do that, to get one of those players. Or it could be the opposite too, where maybe some of the players that you have in a certain layer are gone, and you're going to trade back and acquire another pick, later on in the draft too. So that's all part of the strategy that goes into it. But yeah, in the first round though, it's usually we're taking the next player on our list, best player available to us.
And you have accumulated a fair amount of draft capital here as well. We should point out 14 picks in the next 3 drafts in the first 3 rounds. So you do have a lot of flexibility as far as what you're saying, possibility of trading up or trading back. Do you see a point in that first round where someone might, whether it's you guys or some other team, might take that jump, based on mock drafts and other things that you?
Yeah, there's always, I think. I mean, it's so unpredictable how the drafts go. We all think we have our mock drafts, and so you never know. It just only takes one person to go that you don't think is going to go, and it kind of pushes things back. But no, I think it's just you have to be ready for every situation that might occur. But you're always strategizing, and you don't know what phone call is going to come to you, as far as someone making an offer. Like they want your pick, like I said, to trade back and acquire another pick. So I just think it's you do all your planning all year, and then you come and have your meetings, but you have to make sure you kind of prepare yourself for every scenario that might be presented to you.
Does it feel like, given the repeat Calder Cup champions and the Caps making the playoffs this year, new coaching staff, kids pushing their way up, salary cap rising, little bit of cap space, some breathing room, some ability to make some changes. Does this feel like a kind of a crucial point in the franchise's history as far as we know Alex has got 2 years left. John Carlson has 2 years left, trying to make the playoffs these next couple of years while sort of fattening up on young prospects, and it seems like that's gone really well so far. But it just seems like a really exciting time in the franchise's history right now to me.
Yeah, no, it is for sure. And I was so impressed with how we did last year with, Spencer coming in as a first-year coach and the job that he did. Obviously we had some injuries too, and he had a lot of those younger kids in the lineup, and we ended up making the playoffs, which I think playing in the NHL playoffs is it's a whole other animal. So I think for the young guys that were able to play in that, really good experience. Probably will see them in the summer working really hard to get even bigger and stronger because of the way that intensity and how it sort of gets ramped up in the playoffs. So I think it's really good, and I think that it's a real testament too to the pro guys and the players that we've acquired. I mean, I looked at Strome and how well Strome played, had a great year, and picking up a Dubois. We had Sandin that we picked up. So. And Brian has got these extra picks for us. We've got three thirds this year. We've got 3 seconds next year, and we're kind of you can see a little bit of a transition going on the fly, but we're very, very competitive too. That's a really, really hard thing to do. Some teams blow their team up and start over from scratch, and it's some really lean years, and other teams are kind of older, and I look at us and I'm like, I think we're going to be a really good team again.
I agree. I've said for the last few years that what you guys are trying to do is a bit of a tightrope walk, but so far you pulled it off with a plum, and it's been cool to see. We're going to talk, you and I, next week, as we always do, after the dust settles, and talk about the players that you've chosen in this draft this weekend when it happens. But last thing before we let you go here, just in the 27 years that you've been doing this, talk a little bit about the evolution of the 18, 19-year-old prospect and how much more prepared the modern player is from the same type of player 27 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, it's, I guess first it's kind of amazing I'm doing my 27th draft. I mean, I guess I am getting older, but I think the kids are a lot more polished than they were when I look at kids from 27 or, when I first started scouting 35 years ago. I think, the knowledge they have now is a lot greater. The access they have to nutritionalists and yoga instructors and the skills development, skills coaches and how they've, progressed their game. There's just so much advance in even in the strength coaches and the philosophies and theories. So yeah, it's changed a lot. And you really see it at development camp. Development camp a long time ago, there was a lot of scrimmaging and that sort of thing. And now it's like, man, we are giving all those young guys everything we can to, and it's up to them to be a sponge and soak it up and use it to their advantage and have a good summer after development camp and come back and make it interesting for coaches when they have to make decisions, whether they're sending them back to junior or who's going to the American League and that sort of thing. But I just think the kids are a lot more knowledgeable, a lot more poised. You see it in the interviews too. I mean, they're nervous and they should be nervous. But they're also, if I was doing those interviews when I was 17, well, boy, they're way more mature than I was and able to handle things. So yeah, it's just advancement in everything, I think, has made it better for them.
Yeah, I agree with you on every point, and yeah, I could not have handled the interview process at the age of 18 with you guys either. But it's great to see, and thanks as always for your time, and we look forward to seeing what the Caps bring home from this weekend. It's a really exciting time of the year. Keep it here on WashingtonCaps.com. We'll keep you updated.